Then the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star from heaven which had fallen to the earth. And the key of the bottomless pit was given to him. He opened the bottomless pit, and smoke went up out of the pit, like the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by the smoke of the pit. It may seem unusual that the topic of the bottomless pit should arise in this series on the scrolls and the great white throne judgment. However, it is within context linked by the following. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. He laid hold of the dragon, that serpent of old, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him for 1,000 years. And he cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal on him, so that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years were finished. But after these things he must be released for a little while. In part 4 of this series, we learned that the 1,000 years is symbolic of the day of the Lord, where Jesus said he would come as a thief. This does not refer to a literal day, but to the manifestation of righteous judgment resulting from the cry of the souls under the altar in the fifth seal. Despite tradition's take, I believe this day began unfolding in the first century and continues up to this present time. It's what Jesus called the coming of the Son of Man. The word finished in Revelation 20, verse 3, is rendered fulfilled in the King James, then translated as finished in verse 5 and expired in verse 7. Strong's defines this word as to end or complete. These 3 verses refer to the same thing, the finish or completion of the 1,000 years, connecting to the following in the fifth seal. They should rest a little while longer, until both the number of their fellow servants and their brethren, who would be killed as they were, was completed. In the previous study, those killed by the lake of fire or second death in the sixth trumpet regard those who repent. So this is a good thing. Those killed in the sixth trumpet are the fellow servants and brethren who would be killed in the fifth seal. So once this number is completed, the 1,000 years is finished. This brings us to Revelation 7. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed in 140 and 4,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. What did John say? I heard the number of them which were sealed. What is this number? It's 144,000. This is 12 times 1,000. 12 speaks of divine governance, while 2 denotes a double witness. As we know, 1,000 typifies the day of the Lord. The 144,000 then is another reference to the souls in the fifth seal. This aligns perfectly, since the cry of these souls is for judgment and vengeance, typified by the day of the Lord. I am inclined to think that the little while of Revelation 23 is the little while longer in Revelation 6:11, both referring to what followed after the day of Pentecost and the spreading of the gospel in the first century. As history shows, the early days of the New Testament church were fraught with much hatred and persecution, leading to the deaths of the apostles and many of their new covenant converts. The seal put on the devil in Revelation 23 is explained by the 7 seals of Revelation. Remember, though there are 7 scrolls with 7 seals, it is but 1 scroll or book with 1 seal. 7 simply denotes the fullness and manifestation of the same. Think singular, but sevenfold. This is the books or book seen at the great white throne. No wonder Paul recorded, "Solid foundation of God stands, having this seal. The Lord knows those who are his." 1 seal, but sevenfold in essence. As we learned in the previous studies, the book of life seen with the books refers to the souls in the fifth seal, which we can now identify as the 144,000 who are sealed in Revelation 7. What do these souls cry? Judge and avenge our blood. Why their blood? Note what Jesus said to the scribes and Pharisees. Serpents, brood of vipers. How can you escape the condemnation of hell? Therefore, indeed, I send you prophets, wise men, and scribes. Some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them you will scourge in your synagogues and persecute from city to city, that on you may come all the righteous bloodshed on the earth. It is the carnal mind's inclination to read these passages in the light of, you'll get yours, but not for a moment do I believe the Lord has or embraces such a spirit. Just as Abel's blood cried out for Cain, the Lord's blood speaks better things, typifying the unconditional love and grace of the Father and Son that far transcends the carnal mind's ability to perceive it. When dying on the cross, Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." This statement coincides with the seventh church in Revelation. They do not know what they do. This is the blinding power of the pride that leads to destruction and a fall. An ignorance based not on the lack of knowledge, but on our rejection of it. No wonder Paul said, when we say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes. In the previous study, I mentioned that the 5 components cast into the lake of fire denote the essence of carnality. They are the beast, false prophet, devil, death, and hell. Like the spiritual meaning of 2, which denotes both division and witness, the spiritual meaning of 5 denotes sin and grace. This is clarified by the fact that the 10 Commandments are given in 2 sets of 5, while our own human body is divided by 5 fingers on each hand and 5 toes on each foot. The hands denote our works or deeds, while the feet denote our walk or conduct. Both are determined by our thoughts and intentions. When we look again at the 5 components of the beast, false prophet, devil, death, and hell, we must separate the last 2 from the first 3. Why? Because the last 2 represent what comes from the first 3. In other words, death and hell result from the beast, false prophet, and devil. In other studies, I propose the following. The beast represents the carnal nature, resulting from the false prophet of our own deceptive heart. And the devil? This typifies the pride that forms and sustains this carnal nature. Proverbs 16:18 calls it a haughty spirit. The carnal mind is a mind of pride, leading to what the Bible calls death. It is a mind of self-identification attached to all manner of biases that support the ego. And hell? Hell is a faithful disciple of death, following wherever it leads, for it is death's manifestation. Meaning unseen, it typifies the blindness resulting from pride. When we see but don't see and hear but don't hear, we remain subject to the condemnation of hell. Out of the carnal nature and mind and the pride of our own heart arises all the suffering we see on this planet, and carnal nature is so shrewd and capable that it is more than able to hide itself from us beneath a layer of good intentions. But as the saying goes, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So why discuss these things? To encourage you to think outside the box and to help make sense of the symbolic representations seen in Revelation. Tradition touts that it has Revelation all figured out, but the troubling thing about the traditional views is that they are all established on the arrogant idea that God will vindicate His people by rendering the most horrendous punishment imaginable, eternal torment. Before closing, let me say this. The lake of fire is the message of the cross, the message of self-sacrifice. In direct contrast is the carnal essence, promoting the message of self-aggrandizement, the total opposite of self-sacrifice. Is the one not challenged by the other? So it is that we read, and anyone not found, written in the book of life, was cast into the lake of fire. That's it for this study. but be sure to join me for the next as we continue our examination of the bottomless pit.